Reading is such an important habit. If you don't do it, I genuinely think you're missing out on something. And I've started reading consistently over a year ago, around 1.5 years ago, and it changed my life. Before, I never used to read because I used to think that learning was boring because of how the education system forced me to learn. It forced me to learn things that I had no interest in. So I used to think that learning in general was boring, that reading, watching podcasts was boring, wasn't really helpful because that's the way the education system made me think about reading and learning because they forced me to learn things that I hated. But then I started reading about business, life, self improvement, things that I actually liked. And almost instantly, I won't say instantly because in the beginning, even I found reading and learning boring. But over time, I started really loving reading and learning. And there are a few books that genuinely had a massive impact on my life, especially my perspective, like my the way I see life, the way I see the world. There are three books that totally changed the way I act, my mindset, the way I view the world. So the first one is The Millionaire Fastlane by Andrew DeMarco. This is the first book in my whole life that I ever read from start to finish. So around 3 years ago, my sister gifted this book to my other sister. So it wasn't really supposed to belong to me. But because my sister wasn't reading it and I was interested in like self improvement, I just got interested in self improvement. I would say it was around 2 years ago. And my sister wasn't reading it. And then a few months later, I kind of got into self improvement. I started enjoying self improvement. So I kind of asked her, "Oh yeah, can I read it?" And he said, "Yeah, take it." And I started reading it. In the beginning, the first day I just read it for like 30 minutes. And I found it so boring because I was kind of conditioned. I was conditioned to think that learning and reading was boring. And a lot of the things in the book I didn't understand at that time. But then I really got into self improvement a few months later. I really like got into it. Started becoming consistent with the good habits. So I read it again. And I started reading every day. And in total, I've read that book from start to finish over 8 times because that was the only book I had. And I had like a learning block in my routine. So I just read it every single day, like 10, sometimes 20 pages. And I read it over like 8 times. And this book changed my perspective around making money. For most of my life, I used to think that the only way to make money was through a job or becoming an athlete. I used to think that the only way I could become rich in my life was through becoming a professional athlete. So that was my goal. I was like, oh yeah, in what sport can I become professional? Because I never thought about. I always thought that it was too complicated to like build a business. I always thought, oh yeah, that's way too complicated. You need to invest money into it and everything, and you get this capital and all this shit. No, the Millionaire Fasting taught me that it's really not that difficult to make a business. I would not that difficult, not that complicated. I would say it's still pretty difficult, but it like simplified the process of making money for me because I used to think, oh yeah, you need to do this and this and this and this and this and this. The Millionaire Fasting Manager of the Wacko, who really gave me the mindsets. He taught me, yeah, this is a step-by-step process to become fucking rich. So I really recommend you read this book if you're interested in business. The second one is Essentialism. Essentialism is like basically a book about essentialism. He teaches you that in life, the word priorities doesn't exist. It's only a new thing. The word priorities doesn't really exist. It doesn't even make sense. You only have one priority. It's only recently that we started using this word priorities, but it doesn't make sense. And if you try to focus on so many things at the same time, The main thing, the main goals, you're not gonna make any progress in any real progress in either one of them. So you need to start prioritizing and realizing, yeah, what's really important to me and focusing on that. Because you can't expect to make great progress while you're focusing on many things at the same time. And it changed my perspective because, I was always on, since I got on self-improvement, I was always on holistic self-improvement. Holistic self-improvement is basically improve every single aspect of your life. Because other parts of self-improvement are just about, oh yeah, just go to the gym, like the gym bros. And then they're only like the guy that wants to become rich as fuck. And then there's all the stoics. Holistic self-improvement is about improving all those aspects. So I kind of started thinking about, oh yeah, how can I improve all those aspects at the same time? Sadly, that's the wrong mindset. Of course, you can improve different areas at the same time, of course, but you should only focus on one at a time. So right now, I'm focusing on the business aspect of self-improvement. For the first 1 year, I was focusing on the fitness aspect, building a good physique. Maybe the day I become a father, I will be focusing on fatherhood. And I know there will be a phase where I will be focused on fitness again. But you need to know, in what phase of life am I? What part of self-improvement am I really focusing on? What part of my life am I focusing on right now? And in general, even when you're not focusing on one, you should have just a few aspects of your life that mean a lot to you. Because when you have too many things, like you should have 3 things, 4 things maximum. So for me, I have my essential fews here, so I can show you. I can even show you. I think you can see. For me, there's work, health and fitness, family. That's it. That's it. 3 things. I think you should have maximum of 3 or maximum of 4 if you want to. Big maximum 5. So work, my YouTube channel, health and fitness, weightlifting. So in health and fitness, is weightlifting, MMA, eating, a good diet, amazing sleep. Family, there's basically family, brotherhood. So with brotherhood, I mean friends, and then kids, and yeah. I don't have kids yet, but I mean in the future. I'm preparing for having kids in the future. And I will also put future wife, preparing to have a future wife, and being a good future husband for her. That's it. That's what this book taught me. You can't have it all at the same time. You need to prioritize. What are you currently focusing on? And you can't tell me, you can't have like 5,000 different goals. Have one goal that you focus on. That's also a guys should have. I should set like 20 goals and try to focus on all of them. No, focus on one. You're going to make much more progress when you're focusing on one goal. The last book, I have it right here, is The Way of the Superior Man. The Way of the Superior Man is a book about masculinity and navigating your work life, dating life, and different things, like masculinity in general. And the first time I read this book, it felt like I didn't understand anything. It felt like I was reading like gibberish. I didn't understand a thing. I was reading it, it was entering to one ear and leaving from the other. It didn't make any sense to me the first time I read the book. The way he just wrote, it just felt so weird, and he was talking about some spiritual things. I didn't understand most of the book, just some of it. But even the thing that I understood, I didn't really understand what he was really trying to say. It's only when I reread it, that's when I started understanding it. So now I read this book every single day, and it changed my perspective about masculinity. Because in this book, he doesn't talk about, you need to buy that Ferrari, or you need to look like this, and he doesn't talk about the real world things. He doesn't talk about, you need to weightlift to look masculine. No, he talks about some spiritual things, and just he gives you the framework to have a great life as a man. No matter who you are, no matter what your personality is, no matter what your work